All right, so this is gonna be how to do a tail on a transitional liner. And what I mean by transitional liner, this is a liner that is designed to expand up to one pipe size larger than what it is. So this is a 3-inch liner. Everything with the linings in the metric world, so it's a 70. If you notice, it says 70 to 100. So 70 is 3-inch and 100 is 4-inch. So this is a 3 to 4 liner. A lot of you ask, well, why would you need a 3 to 4 liner? That's a really good question. One of the main reasons is if you were lining a pipe where it transitioned from 3-inch to 4-inch, of course. Another reason, a lot of times, a lot of people like to use transitional liner is it's smaller. So if I have a 4-inch pipe that is in really bad shape, got a ton of turns in it, I know it's going to be a tough shot. What I mean by a tough shot is I've got back-to-back 45s, I'm going through some 90s. I'll always use a transitional liner because with it being smaller, it's inverting into that fitting. I have more room. So it's not going to bunch up in turns. So with that being said, that's a transitional liner. That's why we like to use it. Now, when you're wanting to glue a tail on this is much more complicated than the other tail method, just clamping it on there. That method will not work on a transitional liner. Do not try it because your cowl tube is so much larger. You'll see that later on in the video. So you have to use a packer to expand this liner to the correct size. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. This is something that I highly suggest practice at home or in the shop. Don't just watch this video and try to go do it in the field. All right, this definitely takes some practice. It'll probably take you 5 or 6 of these to get it right. So highly suggest this because the last thing you want is your tail to blow off when you're in the middle of a shot or a cure. So what we're gonna start off with is we have the liner. I have my waist mark. Again, we like to always do a foot of waist. You can do 6 inches, 2 feet, whatever you like. You notice I got a mark right here. This is just an inch away. That's just giving me a start mark to where I'm going to start my glue joint on my 45. The reason I like to have this, you don't want to have your glue joint right at the edge of your liner, okay? And also too, I'm cutting this off, so I like to have just a little bit of room right there. So what I'm going to do, waist mark 1 inch over on the tail for the transitional liner. Now, we're going to be gluing this on a 45. A lot of people like to do this straight glue joint. You can. I was taught to do it on a 45. It's a longer glue joint. A lot of people believe it's stronger. I've always done it on a 45 and it's worked well, so that's how I'm going to teach you today. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a packer. This is not the same packer like you use for point repairs. This is a packer, just made for gluing on tails. This is a 4-inch packer. You're always going to want to glue the tail on to the size of the pipe that you are ending. If you glue a 3-inch tail on this liner, it will not expand the 4-inch in the very end and you will have an hourglass. So you've always got to use the tail for the size of the pipe you're ending in. So we're going to end in a 4-inch pipe, so I'm using a 4-inch cowl tube with a 4-inch packer. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert my packer all the way in. Now, a lot of times what people are going to want to do is stop right here and leave some of this packer hanging out. When you do that, this thing's going to want to blow up so much faster than the actual liner itself. I like to go ahead and let's put the whole entire thing in there, all the way up to the edge, just like so. So now we're going to have our cowl tube. This is the same cowl tube that I used before. I inverted it so I'm gluing on the smooth side. I went ahead and just fished my leader hose. All this is a 4-foot air hose. It just has a valve on the end. I like to do this to control my air as I'm filling up the bladder. You're not going to see this. This is going to be draped over my knee while we're doing this, but just want you to know you need this, some way to turn the air on and off real quick. So I have this, so I'm going to go ahead and connect this into my air hose. I'm just running this off our little shop air compressor. I do have a regulator on it set to about 20 PSI, just to make sure I don't overinflate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull my cowl tube onto this Notice I went ahead and cut my cowl tube on a 45. I just took my speed square, marked it. That's so I can transcribe this 45 mark to the liner. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now, notice I've got a stitch mark right here, right? You can see that. I got a stitch mark on here. I don't want to line these up. I don't want a stitch mark on a stitch mark, because when we're gluing this, we want to try to have this as strong as possible. So what I'm going to do is just kind of offset that stitch mark a little bit, okay? So I'm going to have that right there, just so they're offset a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on my mark right here, my 1-inch mark. All right, I'm gonna slowly start introducing air. Now, you do not have to be perfect on this 1-inch mark. I mean, just get it close. So you can see the liner starting to inflate. Just look how much bigger this 4-inch cowl tube is. So I'm gonna stop right here. The bladder's nowhere near blown up, so I'm just gonna kind of pull this back and adjust. But just to go show you, I know we're talking about a tail here, but you see that? See how much room that liner's gonna shoot this size. So look how much more extra room I have when I'm trying to invert around turns or bends. That's one benefit of using a transitional liner. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep blowing this up. These liners are pretty tough. You wanna take your time. Don't just crank the air to it. Blow it up a little bit, kind of massage the liner a little bit, give it a little bit of time to acclimate to what you're doing to it. So let's just keep on going just a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna stop again. See how beneficial it is to have that little shut-off valve. Now, maybe hard for you to tell, but you can really see a difference in the size, how this is coning down. So right here, you can tell I've got like my little seam of my 45 is right there on that 1-inch mark. So that's my waist mark. That's my 1-inch. I'm right there on it. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna blow this thing up just a little bit more. All right, so you can see now, I'm almost fully expanded. I still got a little room. This is what you want. You wanna stop right here. I can peel this liner back, but it's not moving. Like the whole liner's not wanting to move. So this right here is the perfect point. So now what I'm gonna do is take my Sharpie, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just right in front of my 45 that I cut, I'm just basically outlining this. The sole purpose of this mark is just for my glue joint. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing just a little more air. These bladders will leak down a little bit. All right, so you may have to kind of every once in a while just bump some air to it. All right, so now I'm gonna peel this back. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just peel this back a little bit. All right, so what I'm gonna do is slowly, you wanna be kind of careful on this little cut joint right here on your 45. You don't wanna tear that. So if you're having a hard time bending this back, you may want to go ahead at this point in time and just let a little air out your bladder. So basically, I'm just getting this back just enough. You pull it back just a little bit more. All right, I'm good with that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm using the Picote branch lining glue. Really like this glue. This glue does dry out very quickly. So whenever you get done, put the cap back on. So what I'm gonna do, you just wanna use a cheap disposable brush. This brush will be trash. All right, and what I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put me a glue joint about 1 inch wide. Now you notice I'm using the paintbrush like this. I'm not turning it this way. So I'm wanting to get about, you know, a solid inch. A lot of people, man, they will just try to be so, they don't want to use any glue. They're like, it's hard to get off. And I'm like, I'd rather fight getting this thing off than it blow off. So now, so I did about a 1 inch glue joint. Now right here, I'm gonna want to do this one much smaller. And I'm trying to keep the glue just on the liner that's folded over. I'm not trying to get this glue on this other part of the liner or it'll fold, because if you do, it's gonna be harder to get it over. All right, so I've gone all the way around, getting the glue joint, especially making sure that I do not miss my little 45 cut down here at the bottom. Going all the way around completely. Now this glue, what you want to let do is set up, because this glue is actually going to be heat activated. All right, so that. So I've got that there. So basically I'm just going to, it's kind of hot here today. It's around 85, maybe almost 90. So this glue is going to kind of flash over real quick. So you want to just kind of wait till it's not tacky. This may take 5 or 10 minutes. Again, this is somewhere where you can have your piece of wood, have your two of them kind of propping this thing up. So what I'm gonna do now is just take my glove. This is already not tacky. It's not coming off, you don't see it, so that's perfect. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna line back up my V for the 45 here, and I'm gonna slowly start putting air to it. All right, got that pretty close, still leaving it just a little bit of room where I can kind of roll this. Now, this is why you want to wait until this glue is not tacky, because if it's tacky, you're rolling this over, it's just a mess. So now I can literally grab this, and I'm just gonna give it a quick pull over. We're gonna have to work this a little bit all the way over. So I'm just gonna kind of flip it around. There we go. Get this over. What I'm gonna do now is get that line back up. That right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw me some air to it. At this point in time, Stephanie's closing up my glue. Now, before, I really didn't crank the air, just bladder and get it tight. You want to do that now. So now I probably have got about 20 PSI on this bladder. Everything's nice and tight. I'm taking my hands and I'm basically just, if there's any bubbles or anything like that, I'm rubbing them out. All right, now I'm gonna take my heat gun right here. I'm just using a little DeWalt cordless heat gun. You can use whatever. You don't want to get this too hot. Basically what I'm doing is heating this glue up. So you want to get this to about 80 degrees, 90. I like to keep my hands, because what you don't want to do is get it too hot and blister the PU coating on the liner. You can kind of tell it's getting hot. Everything's nice and good. All right, while you're doing this, you want to make sure you're keeping your bladder completely inflated, not letting it get slack on you any at all. All right, so while I'm doing this right now, then I like to take my Sharpie, and I'm literally, if I see any air bubbles or anything I don't like, I'm just gonna walk my Sharpie around here. You can use your thumbs, just nothing sharp. Nothing that could puncture or cut in the liner. Really, really good right there on that. This is looking really good, just rubbing it around. Almost like if you're doing window tint, you know what I mean? You don't want any air bubbles. Again, we're gonna keep this glue up nice and tight. So now that we have that glued, I went ahead and walked around it with the heat gun. I went around pushing, making sure I didn't have any air bubbles. After that, I like to wait 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be anything long. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start peeling on this thing. I'm just taking my finger, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just seeing, like, is there any tabs wanting to come up? Is there any spark that's loose? And I feel like it's gonna pull up. At that point in time, if I got something that folds up, or I feel like, man, I missed that, that's when I may say, okay, I may try to apply this glue again, or I'll just abandon this tail and start over. So everything's good. Everything's looking good. I had this want to peel up a little bit right there on me. So what I'm gonna do is throw my heat to it real quick. I like to keep my fingers close by just to make sure I don't overheat it. All right, so now I'm gonna let that cool for a second. So keep in mind, when we were doing our brush, you know, I did about a 1-inch wide glue joint on the actual liner and real thin on the cowl tube. So that gave me a little bit of wiggle room. So I know I had, you know, that 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch width of that brush stroke on the liner to play with. So if you don't get this 45, these marks lined up perfect, it's okay, but you want to get it close. And if you look in there, you can see where the glue is. And I'll go ahead and show you now. I don't have that thing peeling up anymore. That's done, just throwing that heat to it. So what I'm doing is I'm looking around, I'm making sure everything's good. And I'm just gonna leave this blue, I mean, you can leave this blue up for 20 minutes, and 5 minutes is good enough. That glue is kind of set up already because like I said, the heat activates it. I'm good with that. So that's a really good looking glue joint. I'm happy with this, I trust it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect my air. Just letting it bleed out. So now, one thing I like about having this, I can literally, and sometimes what I'm having to do now is I'm squeezing the air out of my bladder, just kind of out towards the air hose. Because what I'm gonna do now is just grab the hose and I'm literally just pulling the whole bladder out. So this is what we're left with. Now, you're gonna be looking at this glue joint and be like, ugh, Thomas, that looks terrible. Well, of course, you know, when you take the bladder out and this thing shrinks back down, of course it's, you know, going to be shrunk down, but what you're looking for is that the bladder held everything up, so your cowl tube is glued here. So now what I'm really taking the time is, I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, everything's glued. I don't see any gaps. A lot of people are like, man, I don't trust that. That don't look good. Well, this is why gluing a tail on a transitional liner takes a lot of practice. I trust this. I have done this enough, like I'm happy with this. So, but one thing you'll always want to do is go ahead and do a pull test. So, what I mean by that is you want to basically just grab just your liner. I'm sorry, your cowl tube, grab your liner. What we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and get that thing a pull test. And I mean, pull on it, guys. Don't be afraid. I'm trying to pull this off and it won't come off. So you see, I'm ripping it back. So that's good. And trust me, if it does tear off, do not try to re-glue it. Cut it, start over. That's good. So now, let me go ahead and give you guys a piece of advice. So now you got your tail glued on here. What I like to do, if I know that I'm gonna have a shot coming up with a tail, I like to go ahead and glue the tail on well before the job. You can do this 3, 4, 5 days. It does not matter. Have this done so you're not inside a hot trailer. You're not on the job site. You're not in a hurry. Something hasn't gone wrong or broke. You're in a hurry trying to go ahead and get the pipe in there, the liner in the pipe. Take your time, get this done. Personally, on these, I like to have these done a day ahead of time, especially when it's hot. I'll just set up a table like this in my office in the air conditioning, glue this thing on there. Takes me 30 minutes. I'm not in a rush. Just have your little portable air compressor. You can do that. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to just go ahead and pull this liner back. So I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when you're done. So, all right. So we're back. Had to get Stephanie to help me. Her little hands came in handy. So now we're going ahead and I'm pulling this back. All right. So this is where we got to be careful, guys. You got to take care of your glue joint. All right. I'm pulling this back to where my waistline is. Now you notice how when I pulled on it, how strong it is? If I grab this and pull back, I can rip this off pretty, well, not easily, but pretty easy, because you're pulling against the glue joint versus its tensile strength. We're now pulling back against and it will come off. So you want to stop right here. Now you're good to go ahead and wet out your liner. Now, when you're running this liner and everything through your calibration roller, just be real mindful of this glue joint. You can run it through there, but just don't be stepping on this, doing anything crazy. Take care of this glue joint, wet this liner out. Once you get this liner wet out, cut your waste off, and then basically you'll pull this back over. We'll tie your knot, we'll show you how to do that. But this is one thing I wanted to talk about. Notice my glue joint is here, okay? If you try to have this glue joint right here, man, that thing is going to be pulling on the very edge of that liner after it's been in there and cured. We always like to have it back away. So again, you can see the glue joint starts right there. You can see the red mark. So this is how I like to glue my tails on my transitional liners. A lot of people, again, they'll do it straight. I like to do mine on a 45. It's worked well for me. Now, once that's done, you got your liner wet out. We've cut our waste off. We're ready to go. This is the point in time that we're just going to go ahead and pull this thing back down. Now we have this. Imagine my waist is not here. I'm actually going to save this, guys, because I'm going to shoot this just to show you how strong this is in another video. It'll probably be a week down the road before I get a chance to shoot this, so just that'll kind of be a testament to our glue joints. So once we get this done, you know, your tail doesn't have to be this long. Let's go ahead. I'm going to cut this one. I'm just going to cut it right here. I'm going to cut that off. The way I like to do mine, tie my ends off, I'll just take my liner, get it flat, and put a Z fold on it. So basically, get it down to this, so just Z it. And then what I'll do is basically just twist it over and just tie a regular knot in it. And then basically from there, we'll hook our rope on there. We'll go into details on how to just, you know, tie this off. This is where you're gonna get a lot of people say, well, I don't like to tie mine. A lot of people are gonna like to roll this over very, very small and put clamps on it. Some people may wanna use hose clamps. Some people use the metal zip ties. I have done that. It works fine. Also, I personally like to Z-fold it. I'm gonna show you how to Z-fold it here. Have this piece here. Again, I'm gonna save that because we're gonna use that later. So take your liner, pretend this is your end. I'm gonna Z-fold it. Just go ahead and get it down like that. I'm literally just gonna take this and just tie a simple knot on the end. Pulling this through. Now, here we go. Once you get that knot started, you do want to work this knot, pulling it. This cow tube is tough, so you do not have to try to treat it like a baby. All right, so you want to pull this. This is 4-inch stitched cow tube. This is the heaviest cow tube you can get. Pull that down to a knot like this. That is a really good knot. What I like to do then, you don't need all this flapping. I do like to leave myself a little bit, so I'll leave myself about 2 inches. I'll cut this on a 45. Reason I cut down on a 45 just so there's nothing jagged to get caught up on. And from there, I'll go ahead and kind of just massage it a little bit. We've got a little room if this knot slips. It's got a little extra cow tube to grab on. This is where we would attach our pull rope. I'll go over different knots and methods and ways to attach that. But that's how we like to tie the end of our tails off. And I said, this has not failed us yet. I know a lot of people don't tie knots. They're like, man, that's kind of big. If you're doing 2-inch, yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to do something smaller. 3-inch and 4-inch and up, man, this is no problem. Won't hang up when you're inverting it. It's been great for us.